Greg Joyner for Congress, Tennessee's ninth District. Recently, I was at a political forum held by the NAACP down at Mount Olive CME Cathedral downtown, down the street from the FedEx Forum. Now, at this forum, there were candidates for Congress, for U.S. Senate and House, for State Senate and House, school board, district attorney, and so forth. And all these candidates got up. First of all, they didn't allow me a chance to speak. The people who held the event didn't allow me to speak. But that's not the point. The point is, all these candidates got up and they spoke. And they, everybody was given 3 minutes and whatever. But what I found disturbing is that when you deal with government, when you deal with politics, the number one issue, although there are going to be other issues, the number one issue should always be social justice, freedom, equality, civil liberties, so forth. That should always be the number one issue. Now, we're going to talk about healthcare. We're going to have, job bills and how you handle regulations and deregulate and so forth. You're going to do those things. You're going to talk about war. You're going to talk about campaign finance. You're going to talk about all these different rules. But at the same time, first and foremost, civil liberty, freedom, civil rights, unalienable rights, social justice, everything that goes into that should always be first. The foundation is to have freedom. Thomas Jefferson said, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. That in order to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men." That's an intelligent man. Understanding that the reason you form governments is not to provide health care, not to provide a certain type of educational system, not to provide a war machine, not to provide it. The reason that you form governments, the basis for forming a government is to protect each other from having your rights, your natural God-given rights, invaded upon. So those other things are important too. We're going to talk about those other things. Yes, we deal with those in society. But at the same time, social justice should always be at the forefront. Freedom, liberty should always be at the forefront. With the Patriot Act enacted by George Bush, extended by Barack Obama, and some people like Paul Ryan wanting it to be permanent. How can that not be the number one issue? Nobody's talking about justice. Nobody's talking about freedom right now. All around America. I mean, in Senate elections, presidential elections, nobody's talking about this. Now, all of these different candidates who were at this forum, like I said, candidates for state, local office, as well as federal office. Nobody. I mean, there were a couple dozen candidates that got up and spoke. Nobody said anything about freedom, about individual liberty. Nobody said anything. Not even those who were candidates for judicial offices. Talking about social justice. Not even them. Not even people who are running to be judges and, circuit court judge and clerk and so forth, and district attorney. I think district attorney, she passingly mentioned, said equal justice across the board. A passive mention of it. But that was the only mention of it at all. You have to ask yourself, what are your concerns in society? Now, in particular, in a city like Memphis, Tennessee, a majority black city, African American city, racial profiling by the police department, police brutality, the disproportionate rate in which black men and women are placed in the prison system. Even here, at a forum held by the NAACP, nobody mentioned racial profiling. Nobody mentioned police brutality. That is disturbing. And It's disturbing at best. At worst, it's absolutely absurd. Absolutely. Part of the reason for that is, hey, probably because most of the people who were speaking were pretty much lifelong career politicians, and they don't pretty much don't care. So this is why I advocate a coalition, and this is what I intend to do: to form a coalition of young idealistic minds. I'm not telling on young people to vote. Forget that. My message is young people need to start running for office. Plain and simple. We need to push this movement to start taking these seats away from these old clowns who have no interest in having the people's well-being at heart. Plain and simple. You cannot get around that. We have to forge a future that is going to be worth living in, because going down the road on which we're currently headed is just not going to happen. Plain and simple. Now, your government is misusing your money. I don't have a problem with taxes. My thing is, you put it in place for a reason. Manage the money correctly. I don't mind paying taxes. You can raise taxes. I don't care. I mean, I don't mind that. But manage the money. See, it's not a problem that we got to pay taxes and that taxes are at a certain level. Obviously, those that make more pay at a higher rate. But the point is, if you did a good job managing the money, that wouldn't be an issue. But when you got right now about a $16 trillion debt, how do you rack up a $16 trillion debt? These are the individuals that we put in office. And so now the United States has the largest national debt of any nation on the planet Earth. The reality is, people my age certainly, and probably people that may be even 15, 20 years older than me, there's going to be no Social Security at all. And no way possible that's going to happen. There will be no Social Security. Guaranteed. Not for us. We're not going to be living or be able to retire. Plain and simple. It's not going to happen. And go ahead and realize that you have to take an active role in your society. You cannot allow these people to destroy your nation. Plain and simple. So I'm asking. Recently, I attempted to reach out to Mr. Kenneth Whalum Jr. Olivet Church, one of the more famous pastors here in Memphis, and he told me, I expressed to him my message of the future, justice, redemption nation, bringing freedom back to the people, putting the power back in the hands of the people, a movement nationwide, young idealistic minds stepping forward without anybody telling them to. Because nobody told me to do this, what I'm doing now. And he sent me a message back saying, I'm a staunch supporter of Steve Cohen. Now, first of all, here's a church pastor who is pledging his allegiance to an individual. I don't care who that is, but he's pledging his allegiance to an individual. You're supposed to be about the community, about the people, about the nation, about the well-being of the world, not about pledging your allegiance to a particular person who you may, work together for a mutual benefit of maintaining a particular position in the community of influence. But the point is, you pledge yourself, your life to serve the people. It's not about one person or the other. It's about serving what's right, serving the truth. And you're going to be alive with whosoever may be with the truth at that time, whoever's leading the movement at that time. But you pledge your allegiance to the truth. You don't pledge your allegiance to any person, because people are flawed. And sometimes people sell out and what have you. But you pledge your allegiance to the people and becoming a servant of the public. Now, second, and I told him this, is that I'm not asking you to support Greg Joyner for Congress. That ain't what I asked What I ask you is, could you support prosperity, justice, truth, redemption, and America's future? That's what I asked you. And he sent me a message back saying, okay. Basically, and just brush that off and, whatever. So now I'm coming face to face with the fact that some people who are living good in society really don't want it to change. You got to understand that, because struggle is hard. Change comes, it's just like when you want to have, just like when you get pregnant and you have a child. Well, it's a beautiful thing to have a child, but before that you got to go through 9 months of morning sickness and carrying that child in the womb, and then it right there in the end, those outrageous labor pains. But the end result is a beautiful thing. But so many people don't want to go through the 9 months of the struggle. So what I'm saying is, this here is not going to be easy. It might be long. It might be a fairly lengthy process. But above all else, no matter how long or quick it takes, it's going to be hard, because it's hard to get people out of their comfort zone. So what I'm saying here, Greg Joyner, Memphis, Tennessee, candidate of U.S. House of Representatives, District 9 from the state of Tennessee, is asking that whoever supports justice, whoever wants to encourage young people to push forward and make a change, because that this is not getting it. Your politicians are lying, and there's no sugarcoating or no way of explaining it away. They're lying. Your government is corrupt, from fiscal responsibility, misusing your money, as far as the death and destruction that they send your children around the world overseas to commit, and the invasion of privacy and injustice that they inflict upon their own citizens right here, including you and me. These things are not right. You live in a republic for a reason. The beauty of living in a republic, a democratic republic specifically, when you talk about the United States, is that the power is in the hands of the people. The people can go to the ballot box. You're not living in a monarchy where a king has the divine right to rule, and whatever he says goes. You're not living in a dictatorship. You don't have an empire. What you have is a republic where the people have the power. We, the people of these United States, in order to form a more perfect union. A government of the people, by the people. You have a republic. You have a government by the people. You can form your own political party. You can take your best and brightest young people and mold them with leadership skills necessary to push forward and get and to execute agendas that you have. You can do that very easily if you want to. But until you do, until we form that, right now you have a young man who has stepped forward. Now, either you want the same old, or you want some real change. You want change that we do. You want justice. You want to be able to live freely. You want your children to have an adequate education. So, I have to say this. Greg Joyner is running independent. There are 3 other men on the ballot, on the November ballot. There will be Brian Salisbury, another independent. There will be Steve Cohen, Democratic nominee, as well as George Flynn, the Republican nominee. Now, I need you guys to help me to spread the message that we need a 4-way debate, televised. It can be on Channel 3, Channel 5, it can be on Fox News, wherever. It can be on the public access channel. It doesn't matter, but we need a televised debate between the 4 congressional candidates. Now, in the commercial appeal, they had an article where they mentioned Flynn Cohen to meet for a 9th district seat. Now, first of all, there's 2 other guys on the ballot. Myself and Brian Salisbury are not mentioned in that article. So they're trying to, they try the Democrat-Republican type of two-party thing where everybody else is X'd out of the equation. That's not democracy. Plain and simple. There's no way around it. It's not democracy. And there's no reason that it has to be like that. If the people don't want it to be like that, it don't have to be like that. If you don't want it to be like that, it don't have to be like that. Plain and simple. There's nothing forcing you to have to vote for one or the other. You can vote for anybody who's on the ballot. It's going to be your choice. You have to inquire what these people are about. It's your responsibility to look up candidates and see what their views are, see where their heart is, and you can feel their spirit and if they have any type of integrity. But we need a four-way debate between these candidates, and then we let the people choose. See, that's real democracy, and that would be a beautiful thing. That would be a very beautiful thing. Greg Joyner is running for Congress again. I accept any help that anybody wants to give because this is about the people. Because at the end of the day, I'm not doing this for any personal gain because there is no personal gain to be had. When you're doing something like this, this is hard, and I didn't know exactly how much hell you're going to catch, but you're going to catch some when you want to accomplish something good in the world. It's going to happen. But we need debate between Greg Joyner, Steve Cohen, Brian Salisbury, and George Flynn. And it needs to be televised. It's Greg Joyner for U.S. House of Representatives, Tennessee District 9.